Hello and welcome to episode 41 of the official Jaguar Report podcast. My name's Gus Logue. I'm joined by my co-host John Shipley. What's up, John?
How's it going, buddy? We are what 5 days away from OTAs. We're right in the thick of it, baby.
Right in the thick of it. Yeah, we've got some recent news because the last time we recorded, we had the international schedule for the 2023 NFL season. And now we've got the full schedule. So John and I have both printed out our full predictions, not actually printed out, but we've got our full predictions for each game on Big Cat Country and Jaguar Report, respectfully, and we're going to run through it today.
I'm glad we went the different route and continue to stand out instead of doing a podcast on the day of the schedule release. We did one the day before, and it was a good strategy. We kept the people waiting.
Yeah, to like let the news marinate a little bit.
Exactly.
I didn't post my stuff until Monday, so
I was waiting on you, but
yeah. Well, in the meantime, you were at rookie minicamp, which was Friday and Saturday, right?
yes, sir.
Some takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, like. They were in helmets and shorts, so
Yeah,
obviously,
I was gonna say what fancy news are about to break for us,
right? Like that needs to be the full context of it, and like normally, like it's a bigger deal if guys struggle in those practices than if they stand out.
Yeah,
But I'd still say like some guys draft picks I've seen over the last couple of years who haven't stood out at these practices, like. There's not name anybody, but a player they drafted last year who, in these exact kind of situations, like didn't stand out at all. You're like, okay, that that was a interesting kind of pick. And then this year, I think it was a lot of fancy people shared that Tank Bigsby. He had like a really good day on Saturday, and yeah, it was helmets and shorts, but gotta write something. I mean, it happened.
And
It
he looks
happened.
good. He looks good.
It did. It did.
So who else did you mention that looks good? Brenton Strange was moving around well, and the
Yeah,
other thing,
he looked, as advertised like the first day, like good athlete. I like being able to see like these guys in person. Like he's a bigger guy in person than you'd imagine. Like he's bigger than like a bigger frame than a guy like Evan Ingram, for instance. Like he looks like an all around like balanced tight end, like just in person, off the cuff. And then a guy like Yasir Abdullah, he was another guy like, yeah, he's obviously a shorter pass rusher, but I think he was listed as like 243 in the Jaguars roster, and I think at the combine he was either like I want to say like in the 239 range. There's no way. Like he reminds me of like different positions entirely, but how he's built, he kind of reminds me of Quincy Williams. Like he's really like short, but he's like just yoked up and like completely stocky. Yeah, and that's how he is, bro. Like he looks definitely like the mid 250s range, which pretty good. So and then in terms of undrafted guys, Elijah Cooks, I thought to me, he was the guy I was saying going into it I was most interested in. He's the biggest receiver on the roster, or was until they signed UCF alum Jacob Harris.
Yeah, was he out there too?
Yeah, he was playmaker year. Yeah, he was with the receivers, not the tight ends. So
Gotcha.
He was drafted by the Rams, and they labeled him as a tight end, but he was a receiver at UCF, and I guess he got moved back to receiver with the Rams, and then he worked out for them as a receiver. So
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I thought Elijah Cooks, like he's their biggest receiver, like on the roster other than Harris, but like he looked good. Like he was catching everything. He moved like really good for a big guy, and he's probably like it's going to be hard for any receiver to make like the roster, obviously, with how many guys they're returning, etc. But he's at least somebody who stood out. And then Kevin Austin redemption tour, man. Kevin Austin was like the most impressive player of the weekend, which again, helmets and shorts, but Kevin Austin didn't look good like in any practices last year. Like he struggled like from the jump with drops, but he had a lot of big plays this past weekend.
Would you say he looks improved athletically, or more so just more consistent and
more consistent?
Like
he was catching everything, like just much more consistent. Like the athleticism, I thought has always been there. Like he looked like an athlete last year at OTAs, etc., and training camp. It was just he had issues with catching, and I didn't see that this weekend at all. Like he was in my opinion the most impressive player for those limited practices.
Sweet. Well, in other news, the Jags are going to be signing former XFL player, linebacker Willie Taylor. I have no takes on him. Do you?
I think he's a pass rusher instead of like an off-ball linebacker, but luckily there's nobody is like yet using that terminology when it comes to rosters. I will say, like the more and more practices I go to, the outside linebackers are literally calling themselves like edge. Like when they do like the position group on 3, they're literally saying edge. So it's a thing now.
Okay, it's a thing now
Yeah,
officially.
just yeah, and you're forgetting their other big pickup yesterday to tight
I was
end room.
about to say,
The
yeah,
most athletic tight end prospect ever.
size adjusted, yes.
It's 27, but people like were asking like if he's so athletic, why hasn't he done anything? He's been playing football for like 24 months or something like that. It's probably the fact that he played in 11 games with Washington after having zero organized football experience is pretty insane.
Yeah,
Honestly,
Sammy Reyes from Tulane, right?
yeah,
Roll wave.
yeah, was like on the like Chilean national basketball team, and I guess after his basketball career, was like, okay, I'll give football a try. Worked out at UF's Pro Day in 2021 and was with Washington in 2021. Appeared in like 11 games as a special teams guy, and last year was on the Bears practice squad. So, like, he's an older guy, and obviously, like, there's a reason like he was available. You know, I mean, he's a 27-year-old who's played tight end for like 2 years now, but
Right.
more interesting than your typical May signing.
Jaguars sign him and former tight end Jacob Harris. Is there now breaking news on Evan Ingram? Overreaction of the week? I got to give you one, John, because it's so slow.
Yeah,
But
no,
no, that's absurd. I shouldn't have even said it. It's so absurd.
no,
But
it was a good try. It was a good try.
there's some interesting names floating around.
Yeah, I will say it's funny how after the draft, I thought this today. Like they were like, yeah, we'll make some moves after the draft, and then they like specifically said, who's to say how big or how small they will be? And I mean, they've made several now. So I mean, you can't call them liars. You know, like if they don't have a bad like, yeah,
Yeah.
the moves have been made.
Moves have been made, technically.
Yeah,
All right. You want to move up towards our regular season game by game predictions?
let's go. I'm a little nervous that. So, like, just for full disclosure, I had them at 6-10 last year, and that obviously looks stupid. But like through the first half of the season, like even game by game, it was fairly accurate. And then they obviously went on that run at the end of the season. Beating the Ravens, beating Dallas. This year, I don't like. We've known who their opponents are for a long time, but like even with like the few elite, like we'll get into it, but the few like difficult teams they're playing them at home. So I am disgustingly optimistic. Like I don't know if I've ever predicted them to win 10 games in my career covering them, and we'll get to what we have them at, but
I'm a little concerned for you too because I thought I was being a little optimistic, and then I saw what your final prediction was.
My strategy when I do these is to go with my gut each time, and to not when I get to the end, if I'm surprised by the record, to just keep it and be like, okay, I mean that's what I thought, and that's exactly what I did because I definitely looked at it and was like, huh. Maybe I should go back in there and tweak it a little bit, but no, it was my gut guess. So.
Yeah, I was able to throw in like one or two random losses, which just always happens. So that's the real sweet spot. It's like guessing the non-playoff team loss that happens. I feel like is a challenge at this point.
True that.
All right, well, let's get into it. Week 1 at Indianapolis. I've got a W.
Yeah, I got a W too. Like it's going to be either Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson in his first ever start, which, like, even if you're optimistic on Richardson as a quarterback prospect, and I think it's fair to say a lot of people are. Like, I think even the Panthers, they said the reporting has been like that the other quarterback they consider at number 1 was Richardson. Like, it's still his first start, and he's still like a sub 60% college passer who's in his first NFL start. You know, like he's going to look like a rookie in his first start.
Who started what, like 12 games? Yeah. I feel like I'm definitely one of the bigger Richardson optimists, but I agree that like Shane Steichen is going to have to exceed a lot of expectations to coax more than a couple wins out of Richardson as a rookie.
And that's like another like advantage. Like we'll get to it later, but like the Jaguars are playing these young quarterbacks early in the season, where most young quarterbacks, like if you're going to be able to play, like you're better later in the year when you have more starts under your belt. But Pretty lucky. So yeah, I'll go win versus Colts week 1.
Win versus Colts week 1.
Yeah.
I've got a loss in week 2, the home opener against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I wanted to put a W here, because it should be a pretty fun game, and like obviously Calvin Ridley is going to make a big difference for this game, but I don't really think the Jags were as close to beating Kansas City in either of their last 2 matchups last year as people might like to remember. So, I think the Chiefs are obviously a tier above pretty much every team, but including the Jaguars.
It'll be interesting to see where the Jaguars offense is at in terms of being able to keep up with the NFL's best quarterback and stuff. But I'm with Chiefs offense against the Jaguars defense, even if it's improved, which is still something that has to be proven. I will say the Chiefs sometimes have weird early season losses, like against the Colts in week 3 on the road last year. But yeah, I'm with you. I went with a Chiefs win.
Chiefs win. I it's gonna be hot as heck in September too, but I don't think that's gonna be enough of an edge to.
No, I've definitely have learned over the years that doesn't really matter, honestly.
Well, there you go. All right. Week 3 is against the Houston Texans at home. I think they're going to win big here.
Again, a young quarterback, early on, CJ Stroud should be able to play decently as a rookie, but it's going to be his 3rd game ever. D'Amico's 3rd game ever as a head coach. Their offensive coordinator's 3rd game ever calling an offense. It's going to be a really young team with a lot of new pieces. So on top of all that, the Jaguars are, supposed to be several years ahead of them in their rebuild. So yeah, Jaguars W.
Mm-hmm. People are pointing to the last home game against the Texans last year as a reason to, I don't know, be cautious. But I feel like if anything, that'll be motivation for the Jaguars to.
That was just
yeah,
big slop of a game.
It also was that.
That was just two pigs fighting in the slop. They put cameras on it and.
Yeah, and then Damian Pierce was the winning hog. Well,
I will say, I think the Texans will be better this year, and people are giving them credit for it, but not that early in the year. Which again, the I don't think the Texans are going to be one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in football.
Yeah, but I also think that they think they're a lot closer to competing than they really are, just because trading up for Will Anderson is maybe a smart move because he's a really good player and fits Ryan's scheme, but I don't know. I feel like they might have pushed all their chips in a year too soon.
I saw a take that said they're going to regret that move for the next decade. That's going to haunt them for the next decade.
That's just a Caleb Williams take. It's a dressed up Caleb Williams take. They're it's just assuming that the Texans should have tanked again and gotten Williams.
If they took Anderson at 2, they would have had to use more picks to trade up to take Stroud at 3, right?
Right, but it just would have been such a bad look if they took an edge rusher before a quarterback.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's a nonsense argument, honestly. We're just at that point in the offseason.
It's an argument I'm excited to have no part in the next couple of years.
No. Yeah. All right, so the Jags are 2-1 per both of our predictions going into London. Week 4, they face the Falcons. I've got them beating the Falcons and then the Bills the following week.
I think I'm prepared to look completely stupid for this. I think Desmond Ritter's going to kind of stink. I
think he's going to be very fine. I think he'll be good enough to make the Falcons a playoff contender, but then everyone will be agreeing that the Falcons shouldn't give him a second contract and should look for an upgrade.
That's the thing. I like the Falcons roster, honestly, a good bit outside of him.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And as upset as fantasy people get over their utilization of their offensive stars, it's a pretty well-coached team. And if the defense gels together quickly with all their new faces, then it could be an exciting team.
I saw another fantasy take that said, even if Robinson is a Hall of Fame player, it was a bad pick.
I'm telling you, John, it's just the offseason takes. Stop reading and reporting.
I like running these takes by you because they're by your people.
My people. Come on.
It's your community.
Maybe me of 2 years ago. I've changed, John. Come on. You can't keep referencing me as the statty nerd
You,
guy
you put you
forever.
put you put Moneyball on your resume.
No, I'm working on my resume right now. There's no reference. I can promise you that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Updating it. Let's see. All right. And
But
so
no, like you said, I had them beating the Falcons because like, whoo, you hear that thunder?
no, it's pretty dark right here, but I didn't get
Yeah.
anything.
Whoo. If this storm is what takes us out, I'm glad we were talking about the Jaguars versus the Atlanta Falcons
Yeah, I'm glad we were hyping up
in our
Atlanta's
final moments.
football
Yeah.
team.
No, but like the Falcons have a ton of new faces on defense and a first year defensive coordinator along with the young quarterback. I'll take the Jaguars in that, but I feel like that could be one of the wonky games that they maybe drop that they shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
As for Buffalo, like I feel like Buffalo is getting screwed having to go to London and play a team that's already there for one, and then for two, I don't. Buffalo just feels weird to me this year.
Yeah, I think we've talked before about how they've kind of low key regressed, and
Oh, yeah,
like the offense just relies completely on Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, which is pretty cool for as long as they're healthy. But I don't really have a ton of hope for them to be perfectly healthy, or for Dalton Kincaid to solve the offense as a rookie tight end.
I'm no longer Buffalo pilled. Like I'm no longer. Like I was interested in them for like a year or two, and I'm no longer
Yeah.
like
Now they're just always at the top of rankings, but it's like, what have they really done?
like everybody picked them to go to the Super Bowl last year. Now fast forward
Mhm.
just a year, and I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, I guess just injuries to Von Miller and Josh Allen played a pretty big part. So maybe we're underrating them, but they don't really have a great vibe right now. So it seems like the Jags could take care of business, like with the rest advantage.
yeah. So I think we're both with. So what we have them at 4-1 with the only loss to the Chiefs through 5 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're probably we have them at 4-1, but they'll probably be like if I had to say like reality, probably like 3-2.
Yeah. I think that's fair, but I do expect them to come off starting pretty hot just because it will be a little bit risky having two young, inexperienced offensive tackles to start the season. But and then Calvin Ridley is good enough that I don't really think it's going to be a big deal that they don't have a continuity there, but they have plenty of continuity elsewhere on the offense and then plenty on the defense as well. And so they're just going to be one of the more stable teams entering the season. And there's going to be plenty of other teams that had a lot more like roster overchange.
Yeah, nah, and I mean even like overall, if you want to look at the Jaguars roster, simply improving by people being there like from a year ago, like if it's just the same offense from a year ago, you're swapping out Marvin Jones for Calvin Ridley and
Yeah.
Juwan Taylor for a rookie. Like I I'd imagine like it's going to be. Like, I saw. I want to say it was a Reefer Sans rankings that the Jaguars is the 14th best offense. I think it's good. Like the expectation has to be like 8 or 7.
I think that's what they were last year. So I think you should expect top five just from Trevor Lawrence being in year 2 of Doug and year
Yeah,
3 of the
like
NFL alone.
exactly.
Not even talking about Calvin Ridley.
They were top 10 last year with Marvin Jones, I guess, one of the top snap getters at wide receiver.
Right.
So
Yeah. I think they're gonna have like a decent amount of 30-point offensive games, and it's gonna
yeah,
be a fun season.
I'm with you. So moving on to week 6, home game versus the Colts. The
Yep.
Colts haven't beat them in Jacksonville since, I was, I want to say even I want to say I wasn't even in high school yet. I was in like middle school. It was a hot
No,
minute ago.
was it really that? I mean, I know Frank Reich was 0-5 in Jacksonville, which goes back
Yeah,
to 2017. But does the
yeah.
Colts streak go back farther than that?
The Colts' last win in Jacksonville was 2014.
Wow.
I was a junior in high school. What are you
Feeling
gonna?
old?
No,
Good.
no, no, no. I mean, so we already talked about them getting Richardson in the first start. Did you have this as a win?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Jags have a bad rest advantage since they have to play this game after a long trip in London, but I don't really think the Colts are going to be good enough by week 6. Either Richardson will be struggling or they're going to be starting Minshew. Either way, like I don't really see a scenario where the Colts are thrilled with their quarterback play halfway through the season. So I think it'll be close and closer than at Indy, but I think the Jags will pull out with a win.
I had the Colts winning just because I feel like the Jags would do a dumb loss at some point to an
Yeah.
AFC South rival. And
That's totally fair.
that's literally my logic, and if anybody wants to question it, you're completely welcome to. But I'd imagine this would be a game like versus the Texans last year, where there's no reason at all that they should lose it, and
Right.
it becomes
On paper, they should be 5-1 through the first 6 weeks, but I agree with you that they might drop a random one to like the Colts or the Falcons.
Yeah, because we're not just picking like, who they should be favorited against. We're picking reality here.
Reality. We're writing the scripts, baby.
And teams lose the teams that they shouldn't lose to all the time.
True story.
Jags lost to a few last year they shouldn't have lost to. So
yeah.
All right, so week 7 at the Saints, Thursday night football. I know that you're probably going to be on Bourbon Street for this one. Who you got?
I'm going to be going with the Saints just because, I've picked the Colts for the last week, so I think all their travel in the first part of the season is going to catch up to them on a short weekend on Bourbon Street with me.
I think Dennis Allen is aggressively mid. And that is why I think the Jaguars will win.
Yeah, Derek Carr is also aggressively mid, but I don't know. I think he's like the type of quarterback who can just put together those like dink and dunk drives and take anything the Jags defense gives him. And then I think the Saints have like a still talented enough defense to like make Lawrence uncomfortable and just like sneak away with a win on a short week.
I think Dennis Allen is a Derek Carr of coaches, and Derek Carr is a Dennis Allen of quarterbacks. So that is my logic for them winning that game. Again, if you want to argue with me.
Okay. Well, we both got them going 1-1 in weeks 6 and 7.
So we both got them 5-2 at this point.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Week 8 at Pittsburgh.
I've got a second straight loss because I think this is one of those games where they lose to a team they maybe shouldn't. I just feel like the Jags the Jags weaknesses in general are cornerback depth and pass protection. And I feel like the Steelers are best suited to beat that with their like just probably top 5 defensive line, and then not elite by any means, but pretty solid stable of receivers.
Fair enough. I don't know. To me, it just comes down to Trevor Lawrence versus Kenny Pickett. A lot of games, like I think you have to go either the quarterback advantage or head coach advantage, and this is a game I definitely could see the Jaguars dropping because I think the Steelers are going to be better this year than people probably give them credit for. But I have them winning this one just because I don't know. I know Kenny Pickett had some late game heroics on national television, etc. I'll never forgive the Raiders, but I overall still think that Trevor Lawrence, and especially by that point in the season, I think he'll be like picking up steam, So
right.
I have them winning solely because of that. If that's not a great argument, that's probably fair, but that's my stance on it. That I think Lawrence is better than Pickett by a large enough margin that I think they'll win that one.
My only Pickett take is that I read somewhere recently that he was like pretty much picked by ownership just because Art Rooney like was on his deathbed still mad at himself for not picking Dan Marino. So they're like, oh, there's another Pitt kid. Like we're not messing this up again, even though Pickett is obviously not Dan Marino.
Fair enough. I mean,
so
I'm trying to. I don't have any information on the topic, so I'm trying to quickly comment on it without libeling myself like you potentially could have. But I did not like Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh very much. Like I think he would have been like, God, how many quarterbacks were drafted? I think he would have been the 5th best quarterback in this draft class. Like I liked Will Levis more. I like Kenny Pickett.
I kind of think that Kenny Pickett is the same thing as Desmond Ridder, where they're both fine. I don't think they're gonna win or lose games, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm with you. All right, so next we're on to the bye week. We're going to quickly break just for a second for our advertisements and our sponsors. We'll be right back. So, Gus, out of the bye week, we have them, I have them at 6-2 after the first 8 weeks. You have them at what, 5-3?
Correct.
That's a lot to the expectations, my friend.
I know it's a little scary, and they did start out pretty hot last year, though. I mean, they were kind of closer in the Eagles game than it felt like, because the Eagles kind of ran away towards the end, but the
They
Jags
should have
put up
beat
a
the
pretty good
Eagles.
fight against a really good Eagles team in
Yeah.
legit like hurricane situations. It was horrible weather. And then I don't know, I feel like there was one other early game they dropped last year where they probably shouldn't have. And for the most part, were looking pretty solid before they started their playoff push. So I think 5-3 or 6-2 is reasonable expectations for 2022 Jags plus Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I mean they would have beat the Eagles if Trevor Lawrence didn't have just dropped the ball like,
Yeah, like
several
4
times.
fumbles or something.
Yeah, I think he had a pick too, so he had 5 turnovers. I think if he had 2 turnovers, I think they would have, But yeah, every year is different. Week 10, hosting the San Francisco 49ers. That to me is like one of the most interesting games because that's those are one of the like top tier teams, I think, and you get to see, and especially since it's a NFC team who you're not going to play very often, it's a rare chance to see how you kind of stack up.
I wrote originally during the Thursday schedule release that would be the toughest just test for the Jaguars on their whole schedule.
You're not wrong. It's definitely up there. I mean, I'm assuming Brock Purdy will be the quarterback by that point, right?
Right. Yeah. They have so much confidence in him. I wish I had as much confidence as the 49ers organization has in Brock Purdy in anything because it's remarkable.
I hate the quarterback situation. I hate Sam Bradford is going to start, not Trey Lance, right? Like that seems to be
I think that like as of today, that's how it would go.
That's insane.
I want to see Trey Lance so bad. I get that we should have like pretty much zero expectations for him at this point, but just the thought of athlete of his caliber with Kyle Shanahan as opposed to freaking Brock Purdy.
He got hurt on a design running play.
I'm hoping that like he just like Shanahan uses Lance in the red zone.
No, I don't hope that. That's sick. That's perverse. I hope he gets traded for a ham sandwich behind a quarterback who eventually the team will either be bad enough or something will happen and he'll get a chance to start. Because man, I'm not interested in seeing Sam Darnold, man.
No, I was pretty surprised that the Niners didn't trade him during the draft, but I guess he could be like an in-season trade candidate for whenever a team's like okay starter goes down and then they've just got nobody and not really a future at the position.
Who else needs a quarterback?
I mean, like say Sam Howell has an injury for Washington, or I mean the Titans just
they got Jacoby Brissett.
But who?
They got Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, they do. He's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, maybe like the Dolphins could be cool if Tua gets an injury.
Yeah, maybe.
There's plenty of teams that just like don't have good depth behind their starting quarterback. The Jaguars, you want to see CJ Beathard? I would trade probably not whatever it would take for Trey Lance, but I wouldn't be totally against it. I would be against it. He's going to cost.
I would. Yeah, see, it's
I'll talk myself in and out of that one real quick.
It's over. If you're losing snaps with Sam Darnold, it's over. So
yeah. All right. Well, enough about Trey Lance. But even if Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy will be starting against the Niners, they easily have the best skill position players in the league, and arguably a top 3 offensive play caller. So, the last time these two teams played, it was in Jacksonville and San Francisco. Had an opening drive that took up the entire first quarter, or technically 12 minutes, I think, but it's pretty much the entire first quarter. So
that was pretty funny.
The question of this game, I feel like, is will Mike Caldwell let that happen again, even though it wasn't Mike Caldwell?
Yeah, no, it was Joe Cullen?
Yeah.
So I just think this one comes down to Shanahan versus Mike Caldwell, and that is nothing against Mike Caldwell because Shanahan dunks on pretty much every defense coordinator. It's just I think this game is not built to beat the 49ers game, personally. I mean, is that wrong to say?
No. Because they both rely a lot on just like misdirection And so the misdirection that the San Francisco offense is going to a lot of times offset the Jaguars like misdirection in terms of where they're sending blitzes or where they're getting bodies post snap.
And I think even
I was just going to say, and I would trust Kyle Shanahan to win that misdirection battle over Caldwell.
Yeah, and you have a lot of young guys too, and Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, who like they'll probably see some things that game that they've never seen before, and they won't see again.
Yeah, and I'd say if there's a defense to stop Lawrence / elite quarterbacks in general, it would probably be a 4-man rush with a little bit more exotic coverage behind it, but like the Niners still have a really good 4-man pressure and then just sound zone defense behind, which is tough for any good quarterback. So Lawrence could have his hands full a little bit.
That game will be a good test for the Jaguars offensive line. What would they rank for that one guy 31st?
Yeah, which I could see the argument if you're gonna have maybe not Cam Robinson this year and you're relying on 2 tackles with 6 combined career starts.
Yeah,
like 31 is kind of too hot of a take, but like I can see the argument for bottom 5 to start the season, to be honest. Future power rankings will be different.
Fair enough. So you have them winning or losing this game?
I have them winning because even though I said it was the toughest test, like I just think that the quarterback advantage, like you said, like it's Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold most likely, and they'd probably be one of the worst just like individual passers the Jaguars play. Jeez. And then also the bye advantage because the Jags are going to be coming off a bye. So the bye and the quarterback advantage like made me tilt towards Jacksonville.
Kyle Shanahan is the 49ers quarterback. that argument completely changes when it's Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett versus Kyle Shanahan.
Your argument is better.
You set me up, put me on a tee. You baited me that whole time thinking we're going to agree that they both lost. You didn't say anything that made me think that okay, you know what?
Well, I was just thinking out my whole process because I was originally thinking it would be a tough test, but then I was like, nah.
So,
nah.
Okay.
Brock Purdy, nah.
Fair enough. Okay, so what record do you have them at after that game? 6-3?
So I think we're both 6-3 after week 10 against the Niners.
That's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. You go ahead and take the next one. I'm upset that I opened up to you my thoughts about that game, and you just completely.
So you're only going to open up if I agree with you? That doesn't seem good.
I feel gaslit.
Trust me, you know if I was gaslighting you.
Yeah.
So week 11, the Jaguars stay at home and they play the Titans. This will be their first game against the Titans after already playing the Colts twice and the Texans once. I mean, the Titans have probably been their toughest opponent to play in the past 5-ish years, but I kind of think they're going to sweep them this year with like the end of the Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill reign era, whatever you want to call it in Tennessee.
I think the Jaguars finally figured out the key to beating the Titans, and like they had the scheme and the pieces on offense to do it. They would have done it. Their offense, like they were a few misplays and just dumb decisions in that last game against them for putting up more points on the board. Like I firmly believe that they can put up 30 points against the Titans both games. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as Vrabel is around, it'll never be an easy game, even if the Titans are like picking in the top 5. But I still expect them to come out with a win in week 12 or week 11.
Week 12 versus the Texans. Who you got?
I just posted clips to Caleb Williams highlights. I got the Jaguars.
Fair enough. I also have the Jaguars. Like I think it'll be a tougher game than some people, i.e. you, give them credit for.
Yeah, I mean the Texans obviously have also played the Jags tough recently, but I just think they pushed their chips in too early. I think they're like a little bit unserious right now.
Don't sleep on them.
Okay.
Don't sleep on them. They're gonna win 6 games this year.
And one will probably be against the Jags.
I know. Put up the banner. Went 6-11. Valuation increased from 26 to 20.
So now we both got them at 7-3,
Eight
eight
and
and
three,
three
8-3. Yeah.
after wins against the Titans and Texans.
Then you
Which
get the Bengals on Monday Night Football, Week
Mhm.
13. That's an exciting game.
Yeah, this starts a really exciting just run of the schedule for the Jaguars. Who do you got?
I don't know, man. It's brother versus brother. Zach Taylor, Press Taylor. Obviously, the two forces that are going to dictate this game.
Right, a
Yeah,
classic brother bowl.
I have the Jaguars. Like, I could see this as a game that could flip either way. I am losing just because I think like the Bengals offense against the Jaguars defense is a bigger advantage than the Jaguars offense against the Bengals defense. Does that make sense? Like, I think Burrow and his weapons against the Jags defense can do. Like, I think the Bengals defense can maybe offer a bit more resistance.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just think that almost like the Bills with Diggs and Allen, the Bengals just rely too much on like Lou Anarumo and Joe Burrow to kind of carry them to victory each week. And on the weeks that it works, like they're legit Super Bowl contenders and look like maybe a top 3 team in the NFL. I won't say the best team, but I don't know. I think they're like a legit contender, but a flawed one at that. And so I think that like Caldwell can like force one mistake for Burrow, and then I think Anarumo might not really have the horses that he used to anymore. Like they lost not significant talent on defense this offseason, but enough where it'll be tough for him to face like top quarterbacks next year. So I wouldn't be surprised at all by a Bengals win, but I think the Jags have a good chance to win this primetime game.
All right, so you're picking them to win.
I am.
Okay, so I got them at 8-4. You got them at 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Week 14 at the Dog Pound, Cleveland Browns. You got them beating Kevin Costner's team.
Yeah, I do. But this was one of the ones like Atlanta or like week 6 against the Colts where I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they randomly dropped it. Just because I don't know, the Browns are not really close to being contenders, but I think they're scrappy enough to make like a playoff push depending on how their quarterback situation shakes out, whether he plays like the 2020 or 2022 version of himself. It'll probably be somewhere in between. And then I don't know. They've got pretty good edge rushers and pretty solid offensive weapons all around, like a good enough all around offense to stress Jacksonville's defense. So I am predicting a Jaguars win, but I think it will be a little closer than some people might think.
I'm down on the Browns solely because of vibes. Like, not because of anything about their team, but just because I hate how optimistic people are about their team and
how optimistic people are.
Yeah. Especially after the Zadarius Smith trade, a lot of people are seems like ticketing the Browns to the playoffs. I think they're closer to the Steelers than they are to the Ravens and the Bengals.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair.
Is Watson even good anymore?
We'll see, but I feel like he'll be in between. But like I think the Steelers and Browns are both like sneaky playoff contenders, whereas the Bengals and Ravens are clear cut title contenders.
Fair enough. I don't know. I have them winning. I'm down on the Browns vibes. You can put that on my official.
Totally fair.
Record.
That's part of the reason I think it's like a sneaky upset.
Yeah.
Is that it's just like you kind of discount them because they're gross.
I do. No, that's exactly why I do. I don't like them. All right. Week 15, Baltimore Ravens, Sunday Night Football. I have them winning. Let's see. Ravens are your Super Bowl pick.
Right. Yeah, that I have not changed yet. And I probably won't now that Lamar is signed. But
yeah.
I should have looked up like what their Super Bowl odds were at the time of that take because that was kind of the point of it. Yeah, I think the Ravens will be tough because we've talked about how the Jags got lucky by facing like the Falcons early in the season with a lot of new faces and the Colts and the Texans with just a lot of new stuff going on. And the Ravens will also have a lot of new stuff going on with a new offensive coordinator and Todd Monken and then 2 new receivers and Odell Beckham Jr. and Zay Flowers. But I think like by week 14, I think to start the season, they could struggle a little bit with all the new faces, but by week 14 or whatever week they face the Jaguars, they'll kind of be cooking. And Mike McDonald is probably one of the more underrated defensive coordinators and seems to have like the type of coverage shells that could make Lawrence just confused enough for the Ravens to tweak it out. I like I'm sticking with my Ravens hype, so I like Baltimore.
You saw me check to see if it was really week 14, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's week 15. No,
I was wrong. See,
I think it'll be a shootout, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I think that'll be like 30 something to 30 something. And
It was 28-27 last year, and the Ravens should have scored at least one more touchdown.
yeah, so I think this is a shootout. I give the Jaguars the edge just because I still like their overall offense and weapons more than like the Ravens. Like Odell still has to prove like how much juice he has left. Zay Flowers is a rookie, as opposed to you have some proven guys, and ETN. The biggest Kirk, the biggest question mark is Calvin Ridley, and I'm not even sure if he's a bigger question mark than Odell Beckham.
I would say definitely not.
Yeah, so I had the Jags winning that one.
Okay. Well, we got them splitting the 2 primetime games against AFC North contenders. So I feel like that's like a fair outlook to see them split the home to primetime games between the Bengals and the Ravens.
I think so.
All right. Week 16 now.
There you go.
At the Buccaneers. What's your take on the Bucs season? Do you think are they closer to tanking or are they closer to contending?
Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask are their quarterbacks.
Yep.
I'm not interested in watching the Buccaneers play football this year.
That was my exact same argument. I was like, their roster is pretty good, but look at their quarterbacks.
It'll be a good landing spot for potentially Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they definitely aren't operating like a team that's tanking outside of obviously not having a quarterback on the roster.
Did who's their offensive coordinator? Do you know?
Yeah, it is. He was like Seattle's quarterback coach and passing game coordinator.
So he's like a McVay guy, you think? Because the Seahawks guy used to be a Rams guy.
I think he's probably something along those lines.
Okay.
I'm not one to make assumptions like you.
Their coaching performance wasn't super inspiring last year, so I think between a lot of factors, I wouldn't be surprised to see them towards the bottom of standings by the second to last game of the season.
And I mean, Todd Bowles seems like a swell guy, but like he seems like the coach who would like Doug Marrone felt like the perfect kind of coach to lead a tanking team this year who like we know you're not going to try to be bad, but nobody will really care if you are. Todd Bowles kind of seems like he's cut from the same cloth.
Right. It would be a good landing spot though.
Yeah. So we both have them beating Tampa Bay.
We both have them beating Tampa Bay.
There we go. All right. Carolina, Bryce Young.
Yep.
I'm concerned about Bryce Young.
Yep.
I would like to retract every take I had about him after I saw him at rookie minicamp. I'm sorry. I don't care if that's reactionary. I no longer at the time, like when they were taking him one, I was like, I get it. Like I get having question marks and all these other guys. He was clearly the best quarterback in college football. Like I know he's short, but I get it. But after seeing him in those videos and stuff, imagine how Frank Reich feels.
Dude, it's like they were filming like a social media schedule video, and like he's like an actor in there on the field for him.
They look doctored.
Oh man. Well, I've got the Panthers coming out with a victory because as small as Bryce Young looks in the videos, and even though Frank Reich hasn't won in Jacksonville as the Colts head coach, I don't know. Like this goes into the category for me of like games the Jaguars should win but could lose, and I feel like there's just like this was just the game I happened to pick in the schedule where I think they could randomly lose.
I'm selling all my Bryce Young real estate. I feel bad for Frank Reich. I don't think their offense is going to be very good this year. Like I don't like their line very much. I don't like their skill positions very much. Like Mingo's interesting, but he's just interesting. Like he could very well be Terrace Marshall. Who is also on there. Like
he could be Laviska Shenault.
Like exactly who people are seemingly excited about in Carolina. So
right.
Yeah. So no, I haven't been Carolina, and I'm concerned about Bryce Young. I'm concerned about my takes about Bryce Young less than I'm concerned about Bryce Young, which says a lot about how married I am to my takes.
I definitely am not expecting fireworks from the offense, but I think like their offense could be like middle tier, and then if they just have a few breaks on defense, because their defense, if things break the right way, could be an easily top 10 unit, I think.
Fair enough.
They're just one of those other sneaky contenders, I would say.
Fair enough.
It is
Week 18 versus the Titans. Is the AFC South title on the line here?
No, I don't think so.
Nah, I don't think.
I think the Jags wrap it up by now.
Yeah, I think they have it wrapped up by then too. So win, lose. Do they go to Nashville and get 2 in a row?
Yeah, I said they go on a trip to Nashville strictly on business and get it done with a win.
God. Thank you for your narrative. Walt Whitman over here.
It was like the last division game. I had nothing left in the tank. What do you got?
Yeah, I think they'll be starting Will Levis by then.
Yeah.
And that's basically all I got. Will Levis versus Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. Maybe that's a game where the Jaguars are. I don't know. It's week 18. Week 18 is a very stupid week in the NFL. But I'm if that's one of the ones I miss, I'm not going to count it as a. It's like a half miss.
No, that doesn't count.
It's a half. No, yeah, it does.
Week 18 isn't half a game. It's not a 17 and a half game schedule.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
It's not a real game.
No.
It's not a real game.
I'm not gonna let you count that. That's too far.
You have them winning it, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if they lose, you get a full miss.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm accepting that. I took the Panthers to win the week before.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about half or full wins and losses.
I'm concerned about sharing the same answer as you after the Panthers one.
I'm only going to be looking back at these schedules that we predicted if when they're 100% correct. So
no,
I'm not worried about it.
I have them ingrained into my memory, so I can remember every week the ones that you have wrong. I'm going to be harping that little on your shoulder. Like I won't stop.
You got my score predictions too? Then I'll be really cocky if I ended up getting like 1 or 2 scores right.
I don't believe in score predictions. It gives me more range to be wrong. I don't believe in the art of making myself look dumber than I am.
Yeah. Maybe we next year we'll do like look aheads at the spread.
Yeah. Numbers.
That'll make it more interesting to talk about like the Texans and the Titans games.
Yeah, numbers too, and things get all fuzzy for me. All right, fair enough.
I think it's the opposite. I think they get clear, but
all right, fair enough. Numbers guy.
Yeah. So you got them at 13-4, and I got them at 12-5.
Yeah, I have them losing to the Colts, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Bengals.
And I got them losing to the Panthers, the Chiefs, the Saints, the Steelers, and another team.
You have them dropping a couple weird ones. I'll be honest.
And the Ravens was my other one.
And the Ravens, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I feel pretty confident. If you say that you had me predicting them dropping a couple weird ones, it makes me feel better about my predictions.
They're going to go 500 against the NFC South?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the AFC North.
Yeah. Okay. 2 equal divisions, as many are saying.
Well,
no.
How far is the season? Freaking 3 months.
Yeah, but you're not changing any takes by now. Well, you going to change a take whether Kendrick Pryor or Parker Washington makes the roster? No. You're married to these takes.
Okay. Well, the only one that matters is Ravens Super Bowl. It's just going to keep looking better and better.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, I'll count your hot take of the week as the Jaguars. Basically, per Gus Logue, the Jaguars have a bottom 5 offensive line in the NFL.
Okay, fine.
No, I twisted your words.
Arguably bottom 5 as things stand today. I'll take that hot take.
My hot take is, My hot take is the Panthers will be the worst team they play this year.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think the Panthers will finish with the worst record than the Texans.
Okay. While we're going at each other, the hot take that I prepared for the show was that your take that Bob Sanders is the player that you would want in the
Yeah.
NFL. Or okay, so there was a tweet that was like, what sports player would you want to like not have had injuries in their career?
Yeah.
And you said Bob Sanders, which is
Okay.
like, would that really have made the YouTube videos more exciting for you to watch?
Am I going to repeat every single answer that everybody else was having?
I
Huh?
feel like
You want me to say Tony Bazzelli so I can get
no.
retweeted by Jags fan 1969?
If there's a good Jags answer, it's probably Allen Robinson, just so that
I
in
considered
case
that.
it pushes them to like a Super
Okay.
Bowl in
I
2017.
considered Allen Robinson, but if you think I look ridiculous for saying Bob Sanders, imagine how ridiculous I look for saying Allen Robinson.
Okay, so my take on your take is just that like picking someone that played before the era that you watched is absurd because like how does that benefit you at all that Bob Sanders got like a few more 1,000 yards on his resume?
You ass. I watched Bob Sanders as a kid.
Oh.
You ass. Just because it was for your time. I distinctly remember watching Bob Sanders as a kid.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well.
No, what?
All right, then I rescind my hot take.
Bro, I hate you. His rookie year was in 2004. I was like 8. I was watching him. I was going to take. So yeah, so he played until I was in like my mid-teens. Like you don't remember players from when you were like just starting to watch football until like your mid-teens?
I guess.
Yeah. No, no. I didn't mention like Sterling Sharp or something. I didn't pick a player from the 90s.
Yeah.
Read a book.
Okay.
Give me your player.
I said Gronk, which might seem like people could get upset about because of the jersey war, but I just had fun watching him. I would have enjoyed seeing 30 more touchdowns in the NFL playoffs. It was fun to watch.
He already has like every record, doesn't he?
I think he has like pretty much every single season record that you could have, but I don't know. I feel like he had too many injuries to get all of the career records.
Somebody
like
tweeted at me
that Gonzalez and Kelsey are probably both ahead of him in most just career reception totals. Gronk is just like one of the most fun players I've watched, so I would have enjoyed watching more of him.
I have another one for you that I almost put that you would have also mocked.
Okay.
Jason Verrett.
No, that's a good football hipster one.
Yeah.
I'll give that one to you.
That's why I didn't say it.
I guess that's why I said Gronk, is because everyone already knew him. But yeah, maybe the football hipsters would have been.
Yeah. Well, now I'm gonna know I'm tweeting with you having a watchful eye on it for content.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
We gotta make takes out of nothing right now. It's May.
Fair enough. Hey, OTA is a few days away, baby.
Few days away.
They're very dry. They are very boring.
All right, John, you ready to get out of here? You got any lingering takes?
No, should we give? Okay, you have Are you sticking with Ravens as Super Bowl winners? Just for the sake of takes.
For the sake of takes, I'm sticking with it
Okay.
now. You have a Super Bowl winner?
Give me your Ravens over who, and I'll give you my
over who in the NFC.
Yeah.
Trying to think of another team I could trust besides the Eagles, but I think I gotta go Eagles.
I got Chiefs over Eagles again.
That's like the correct take, honestly.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be like shocking to see a repeat of the same teams, would it?
No, I mean if anyone asked me for like my serious take on who's going to win the Super Bowl, then definitely the Chiefs. For as long as Mahomes is healthy, really.
No.
Yeah.
The Ravens is your serious take.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
I was trying to decipher. I'm okay. Yeah, the Ravens is my take.
Yeah.
Or differentiate.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out of here, John. The heat's in my house. I need to turn it down. You got me sweating.
Well, sorry for putting the fire to your feet. Thank you guys for joining us for this week's episode, and we'll see you guys next week.